Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Dais, a podcast about the stories taking place in and around El Paso County, Colorado. I'm your host, Scott Anderson, and today I am joined by the chair of the Board of County Commissioners for El Paso County, Cami Bremer, and El Paso County's Deputy County Administrator, Sunny Bryant. How are the two of you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time today before this busy Easter weekend we're about to get into. So I appreciate you being here and making the time for the conversation. But before we get started, I want to quickly add that if listeners are interested in more stories about people doing good in and around El Paso County, or hearing from county leadership about local government priorities and how they operate, you can find additional episodes of this podcast on your podcast platform of choice. But to get into things, I know I've had both of you on the podcast before, but for those new to the podcast, I'd like it if both of you could give a little bit of background about yourself and how you ended up here at El Paso County. Commissioner Bremer, let's start with you.
Yes, thank you. I am Cami Bremer. I am chair of the Board of County Commissioners for the second year. I am in the middle of my second four-year term as a county commissioner, and I'm just really excited to have been able to apply my previous nonprofit and business and healthcare world experience into this role. None of us could have foreseen how much I would be applying the healthcare piece as I served through 2020, but really that experience allowed us to learn and grow in how public policy is affecting our citizens' everyday lives. And I love getting to help impact our community in a positive way.
Awesome. Sunny, how about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I think the last time I was here was within the first month after I'd started.
It was, that's true.
Yeah, I feel a little more comfortable now that I'm able to have a little bit more time under my belt. So I have been with the county serving as Deputy County Administrator for right at a year and a half now. And it's been one of the most rewarding positions that I've been able to hold. We have a tremendous team here at El Paso County, and like Commissioner Bremer, I just really enjoy trying to make that impact and helping the citizens and serving our community. And so, yeah, I really look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I remember with you, Sunny, having that first conversation. It was a little bit of that, well, you know what? You're asking me all these questions, and I've only been here for 7 minutes, so I'm not quite sure about all the answers yet. But no, I'm glad
she figured it out very quickly.
Yes. Well, yeah, she definitely seemed like a sharp tack when I spoke with her before.
Great people we work with, so.
That's awesome. Well, one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to both of you is April is officially National County Government Month, which maybe to some people isn't that interesting, but to us here at El Paso County, it's like Christmas every day in April. So we're very excited about National County Government Month. And I was just wondering if both of you could take turns talking about just the month's significance and why it's something that residents should be paying attention to. Cami, let's start with you.
Sure. You know, when our community members are able to kind of go about their business, get where they need to get, have access to resources, feel safe in their community without really noticing the government, then I think we're doing our job okay and that things are going pretty well. I think that the average citizen probably interacts in some way that they may not realize with the county government, maybe 5 to 6 times a month. Whether that's driving, whether that's renewing your driver's license, whether it's going out to eat at a restaurant that's been inspected by our health department, whether it's moving into your new home, whether it's built in the county or not, the county has probably processed that deed and done a lot of the paperwork for you. So there are a lot of things that the county government is responsible for. Most of those things are spelled out in the Colorado Constitution and in state statutes. So, our goal is to make sure that our citizens have the access to government and that we're doing it in a customer service focused way.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And Sunny, what about you?
Yeah, so I just echoing what Commissioner Bremer said, I think just not realizing it, but citizens interact with county government so often. And one thing that I really appreciate about all of our local workers is to be in county government or any type of local government, you really have to have that heart for public service. You have to really care about the community and really appreciate trying to make that impact and that difference. And so I just really commend all of our workers out there who work tirelessly, whether it's a snowstorm trying to clear the roads or, a wildfire trying to make sure that things are organized and our teams are supported, or just day-to-day communication interactions. I think just making sure that our county government workers are supported, acknowledged, and then just understanding what we do. And so anytime we can get the word out there to our citizens on what impacts we're having, I think it's a huge opportunity. So
one of the things you mentioned is like what county government does, right? And Commissioner Bremer, you said this earlier too. A lot of people probably don't even realize that they are interacting with county government. What is the one thing, and I'm putting you both on the spot here because we did not talk about this before. What is the one thing that you think people would be surprised to know that the county government does for them?
So I would say where I think people get a little bit surprised is the true distinction between like a city, a county, and the state. And a lot of times people put us all together and don't realize that we all do very different things when it comes to specific roads that we maintain, any type of support that we provide. They kind of put us all in the same category. And so if they're upset with something at the state level, they assume it is us that has that impact.
Sure.
And so I think just understanding that there is a difference in city and county parks and, the roads and all of those dynamics, I think that can be a little bit of a challenge. So not necessarily a surprise, but I think just learning those true distinction and roles that we're not the same entity.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. Before I started working with the county, I had very little knowledge about what county government did. My civics class was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far away. And, like you mentioned, roads, right? Roads to me just kind of seem like a government thing, but I would have had no idea who to go to if I had said there was a problem with the roads, right? So I think that's a really good example of just like one of those many things where it's hard to determine like, oh, if I do have a question about this, who do I actually go to? So no, I really appreciate that. Commissioner Bremer, what about you?
As a county commissioner, I'm one of five who sit on the board, and the majority of our policy issues have to do with land use planning. And so you may think that only applies to, a new development out in the county. But the fact of the matter is we have to be much more strategic and planned about that. So whether you live in an apartment building, whether you live right on the edge of El Paso County and in another municipality, or whether you're building a new home in the outer parts of El Paso County, most likely the county commissioners and any other surrounding jurisdictions have sat down and planned out what needs to be in that area, how you're going to get around and about it, what other services are there, what other utilities, what water districts, all those things that it takes to live in any given place, whether you're in a house or an apartment or a condo or any other living situation, that has been very well planned out and with a strategic vision in mind on that. So I think people maybe hear about some of the land use decisions and think with the mindset of a new development. But the fact of the matter is that the ones that were here in the 60s were planned out by the policymakers at that time. And so for us to consider that as we move forward, I think is huge. The other thing I think that people probably don't realize, we do a lot of work in our economic development office. And that is, that's everything from enterprise zone tax credits for incoming businesses and as a recruitment tool to first-time home buyer loans through the turnkey and CHAFA housing programs. So I think a lot of people don't realize what El Paso County's Economic Development Office is doing in those areas.
Yeah. No, and actually that brought up a question that I had planned on asking a little bit later, but you might as well get to it now. What is exactly that county's role in attracting outside business to the region? Because, if you are paying attention in the news, we've actually had a lot of outside businesses coming in, technology businesses, microchip businesses, all kinds of stuff, especially ones that are even paired with Space Command and military type things. So, Cami, can you talk a little bit more about how the county plays a part in getting those businesses to come to El Paso County?
Sure. The commissioners are very free market minded. And our role is to make sure that we're creating a thriving environment where everyone and anyone can succeed as they bring their business here. That being said, we have a toolbox and a toolkit of things that we can pull upon to make sure that a business can succeed here. And one of those I just mentioned, the enterprise zone tax credits. We have several businesses over the last few years that have taken advantage of millions of dollars, and that does not come out of the El Paso County taxpayer's pocket. That is a program run by the state, but you cannot apply for it through our office for that state credit. And so we help businesses figure out what incentives like that they might be eligible for from the state. One of the things we didn't talk about earlier in this podcast is that really counties in Colorado are an arm of the state. So all of that state programming and state funding that is available to El Paso County businesses or those being recruited here, they have to access it through the county. Mm-hmm. And so I think we do an exceptional job of working with our partners at the Chamber of Commerce, our partners in other municipalities in the region, and making sure that everybody knows how to apply for those things that they're eligible for that might make the difference in whether they come here or go somewhere else.
Right. No, that's really good. So one of the things that helps drive the decision-making here at El Paso County is the strategic plan. It's something that a lot of organizations have, not just government organizations, but businesses. Everyone has a plan for how they're going to get from point A to point B. And, where point A and where point B are is different for everybody. But for here, I think it's a lot about customer service and really just serving our residents and making us as accessible to them as possible. So for both of you, I'll have each of you take kind of one part of this. How does the county use that strategic plan to make those decisions, both internally and externally? Sunny, let's start with you on the internal side of things.
Yeah, thanks. So with our strategic plan, this started prior to me coming to the county, but what I really appreciate is that it continues. It's not something that was done, put on a shelf, and then we don't talk about. And so the 5 core values that we developed were service-focused, accountable, transparent, collaborative, and trustworthy. And those are spoken about in every meeting. We talk about them in conversations with our departments, just making sure that we're living by those when we have interactions with the public. We're making sure we're collaborative, making sure we're trustworthy, making sure we're telling them the factual information. We are starting our budget process, and we're looking at things very differently now. Instead of, doing things based off of one specific complaint or one area of focus, we're doing very data-driven decisions right now. We're really taking time to look at things, make sure that we're serving the citizens the best we can, make sure that we're, spending the money appropriately and getting the most that we can out of the funds that we have, just being very intentional with that. And I feel like with the strategic plan, we're looking at our assets, our inventory, the way we communicate with our citizens, the information we share, just making sure we're really getting that out there appropriately, making sure that we're, taking care of what the citizens have trusted us with and just really being responsible for that component. And so, like I said, in every meeting that we have with our executive team, we talk about those components. How can we improve that? How can we change things? And it's definitely something that we bring to the light in all of those conversations.
Mm-hmm. And then for the external side, Cami, what can you say about that?
Sunny did a great job of hitting on those core values. And the fact of the matter is that when our managers and when our employees and when our leaders within the county really embrace those core values of transparency and accountability and customer service focus, then that is going to be what is reflected to the outside. And as a county commissioner, the commissioners are always looking at how that is, how that plays out in the community. So, for example, it's both a customer service thing and a transparency thing that we have a new program out of Public Works that will allow our citizens to track snowplows, and also a public safety thing, by the way. Yeah. So it's really up to the commissioners to ensure that we are combining, what needs to happen organizationally to have a good, strong organization is also reflected outside of these walls, outside of our office buildings, and into the community in very tactical ways. And so that's just one of many, many examples that has really driven innovation behind how the county can be more customer service focused, how we can be more transparent, and how taxpayers can know that they are interacting with their government.
Yeah. And not for nothing, and I'm looking at this strictly from my perspective, transparency, of course, for someone who is in communications is always a big thing. It's something we try and talk about all the time, try and share about all the time. And this podcast, to me, as I guess the host of it, so I'm very invested in it, but as someone who really finds that transparency part of government so important, the podcast was a thing that didn't exist before, and it exists now. And when we were initially talking about wanting to do it and, kind of the idea behind it, transparency, one of those core values, was really like the thing that we honed in on. I mean, to me and to a lot of the communications department, it's really important for us to make the people who are making decisions in the county as accessible as possible. I think we need to be really good about sharing with our residents why we're making decisions that we're making, right? And Sonny, you mentioned data-driven decisions, and Commissioner Bremer, you mentioned how the commissioners kind of see the work that the internal employees do and the effect that has on our residents. And I think the more that we're able to share and educate our residents with platforms like the podcast, even just inviting them to the public meetings and giving them that platform to share the things that maybe they agree with, maybe they disagree with, right? It's a public forum. You got to love it. But all of those opportunities really just, I think, go to that idea of being service focused, being transparent and collaborative. I mean, all the things that you mentioned with those core values. And, this is just another one of those opportunities to get this information in front of residents and say, hey, we really care about what you have to say. We really are passionate about the work that we do. So how about you let us know how we're doing, and we'll do our best to try and meet those needs and try to serve those things. So, it's one of those things that it's nice to see the way things are done sort of evolve. Even in the short time that I've been here just about as long as you have, Sonny. I've seen things evolve, and to me for the better, in the ways that we are communicating and the ways that we're sharing information with the community. And it just makes me really proud to be part of local government county communications, to know that, these are things that we should be proud of and we should be sharing with our residents so they can have more access to us. Because, again, to me, one of the great things about local government is just how accessible the people are that make the decisions. And I've heard the commissioners talk about this all the time, and I'll let you talk about it here in just a second. Cami, is, it's just such a great thing about, being a local leader, is how easy it is for someone who's a resident to come up and to speak with you. And,
back to one of those core values, it is collaboration. And we're not talking about just collaboration within the departments or within other governmental entities. Mm-hmm. We are talking about collaboration with our entire community. and your commissioners are members of that community.
Right.
And so the circles cross over in different ways with other different communities, and it's really kind of an amazing thing to be a part of and to watch what can happen when collaboration's not just talked about, but really embraced as a value and as a way we serve our citizens by coming alongside, whether it's a nonprofit group that's picking up where the government left off in the human services side, or collaboration with another governmental entity. It's pretty exciting to see what can happen when that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to echo on what you said, Scott, we have come so far with the ability to communicate. So I've been in a different form of local government for over 20 years now. The way that we communicated when I first started is so much different than how we can communicate now. And I'm so thankful that we have those tools to be able to get that information out and really be transparent to our citizens. If somebody is looking for information, we have a fabulous website that's very transparent, has a ton of information. We have the podcast. You can watch the commissioner meetings live if you're not able to attend. If you can't watch them during the day, you can watch them again at night. I mean, there's so many different tools out there to where, citizens have that ability to be informed.
And not only can you watch those passively, you can be involved in them. Technology has allowed us to make sure that when you can't make it into a hearing, or it's a snowy, icy day and our hearing will go on, that you can still have your voice heard and call in during public comment. We've really tried to take that to a new level too.
Yeah.
That's an exciting opportunity for our citizens to be involved with what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I really like the conversation just around what county government can do for you. People should know that throughout the month of April, we're going to be sharing a lot more about it. We're going to have an op-ed going out in the Gazette. We're going to have different messaging going out from the county about, why county government is important. So this is just sort of the start of that conversation, but definitely be looking forward to that throughout the month of April. And, feel free. We're in all those communications. We're going to be letting people know how they can reach out to us. And, is there something that you think we can be doing better? Let us know. If there's something that you think we're doing well, please let us know. We'd like to know about that kind of stuff too. Definitely we like to get the residents involved in a lot of the work that we do. But before we close things out, I just want to give each of you an opportunity to add anything else that you think would be important for listeners to know about. Sunny, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I think the last thing that I wanted to make sure that the community knows, so El Paso County, we have right around 3,000 employees in the county, and so many people that you interact with on a local government could be the county employees, from the assessor's office, the treasurer, various elected officials, the sheriff's office, and then coming into the buildings through, our Department of Human Services, public health. There's just so many different departments and elected official offices that serve the community. And so I think just starting to learn a little bit more about those interactions and how the citizens are impacted by the county, I really think this is a great opportunity for the citizens to understand those interactions, understand the impacts that the county has. And then I really appreciate your comment. We love feedback. So if there's things that, we're doing well, we appreciate hearing that, but if there's things that we need to improve, we appreciate hearing that as well. And so I think having this podcast, kicking off County Government Month, really acknowledging, just personally, I would love to acknowledge just our county teams that are out there serving our citizens. We appreciate you all very much and appreciate the work that you all do and appreciate our citizens that are helping us do what we do. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And Commissioner Bremer, we'll leave the last word to you.
Well, Sunny said it very well. I too am deeply appreciative of the public servants that make up those 3,000 employees that call themselves El Paso County employees. And I could not do my job every day. I probably couldn't get to my job every day, but for them. And, I think it's important for people to realize too that there are 5 commissioners, each representing districts, each with their own passions and we're always applying the community values to the policy decisions that we're making. And that goes for us as well as your countywide elected officials. You know, one of the core functions of government is public safety. And we have 3 different countywide elected officials that really represent that. And that's the coroner, the DA's office, and the sheriff's office. And, you know, arguably all of us fully responsible for the public safety. And I think it's important to realize too that while they may be employees of a different department or a different office that has its own identity, they're also county employees, and they're helping us. They're pulling their piece of serving our community in a public safety capacity. And I think that's critical to continuing to have El Paso County a great place to live and to play and to maybe work for us.
Yeah, there you go. I like the plug at the end there. Well, thank you, Commissioner Bremer, and thank you, Sunny, for taking the time today. I really appreciate it and for all the work that you guys do for El Paso County. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Scott.
If you are interested in listening to additional episodes of Beyond the Dais, be sure to look for us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.